Hey, hey, hey. It's that time of the day. News time. So, yep, Tim K got you today. Anne's not in yet. I can't believe she hasn't been in yet. Not very good in sports this weekend. Yeah, we got buried with some snow. I don't know how much we end up getting yet. Chico, there's Eddie. It's news time, and so me, Michelle, and Kay, we were getting all the backup channels straightened out. There was people that was blocked that shouldn't have been blocked, but we fixed it. Oh, Michelle did. Chris, are you sub to those two channels? The backup channels? The one with the M on it, and then Brown. I got a Brown channel. So those two will be the backup channels. Lucy, they had you blocking one of the Brown channels, Lucy. There's a lot of people were blocked, so Michelle fixed everything. Um, so the big the letter M there, orange M, will be the main one. So we got to get everybody from here over in the orange channel. Yeah, K was even blocked too. Starfire was blocked on the brown channel. We got to get Lisa to come in and get her a wrench over to the other channels. She needs to subscribe to the two backups. How many more days are you with the family, Lucy? You said the 6th, December 6th? Oh. Hey, Ed, you know that lady? I forgot to play her. I'm going to try to see if I can find it. But she had 3 short videos a couple of days ago. They said that the capital or something could be in Philadelphia. She was saying, yeah, she has 3 short ones. think I forgot to play that. And she had a video on the med beds too. That one's 4 minutes. Samantha, you made it on time. Good. So we were working on backup channels. The one with the big M orange will be the first backup, and the brown one will be the second backup. Yeah, Michelle and Kay, we were working on straightening the channels out. So we got to get everybody over to the big M orange one. I think it was 121. So we got to get like 1,800 people over there. Oh, Doug came out, okay, with a Trump announcement. So I got a lot of short ones today. We got to play George's video from yesterday. But we're going to hit to the short ones. Carol, 444. Time. Nothing's really on tonight, so I might stay on a little longer. Because we got that one guy, and after we get all the short videos and the regular, we'll see how the time is. But I might stay extra time to play that 2 hour one. That one guy that you like him. I can't remember the name, but they got the group table on. It looked like it was pretty good. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna keep just two of them. And I don't think Michelle's gonna get rid of the other ones. Hopefully, we only need two backup ones. So Carol's popular kid. I got a couple short ones. I want to play for JJ. Um, so today we're working on our backup channels. They'll be dropping the links for the backup. The one with the big M is going to be the first backup. So we'll go ahead and get logged in the Telegram and get going here. A lot of good stuff out. Hopefully everybody's all ready, relaxed, and time for Intel.
When will we stream again? You guys might watch us on our streams. I've been streaming with Joel for a few years now. I first met Joel a few years ago.
I don't know who this guy
in
is, but I'll
Tasmania.
talk to somebody.
I was just there
JJ
visiting
probably
family,
know.
and a friend invited me to
4
a political
minutes.
conference. And there was Joel. What's a political conference? It's a bunch of nerds talking about politics. And Joel was one of the nerds talking about politics. But what set Joel apart from the others, in my mind, was he could clearly turn a phrase. He was very well spoken and well read. So I approached him after the conference. I said, hey, mate, you should meet some people I know. We exchanged details and we started streaming after that. But now he's in jail, so we won't be streaming for the foreseeable future. He's in jail because he posted something to Telegram which has offended the sentiments of a standing politician. A woman feels threatened by something he said. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, how can they just hold him in jail if he hasn't been proven guilty? Have they proven him guilty? No, they haven't. So how do they just keep him in jail? Isn't it you're innocent until proven guilty? No, that's not how things actually work in reality. The police can just hold you on the presumption of guilt. They do it all the time. They call it remand. They say to the judge, you're a risk to the community, you're a risk of reoffending, or you're not going to show up to court when you're supposed to, so you need to stay in jail. And that's what they've said in Joel's case. Is Joel actually a risk to the community? I don't think so. But the judge went for it. I think it's all very political. I think that's why when the federal police arrested Joel, they took a camera crew with them to film and photograph themselves arresting him. You know, it's all very much a stage play. It's all a big flex, keeping Joel in jail, even though he's not a career criminal, has no notable criminal history. Keeping him in jail is pretty obviously a political statement and a flex on behalf of the government. And this comes in the wake of a lot of political policing in Australia, a lot of political policing, people being raided on no evidence, set up on all sorts of charges, sometimes stacks of charges in relation to protesting, hate speech, believing the wrong thing. He will be out of prison. It's just not going to be anytime soon. It'll be sometime next year, in my opinion. That's when they'll let him out. He'll need to make a new bail application or appeal to a higher court, to Supreme Court, I believe, because bail works differently in Sydney to the way it does in Melbourne. And it all costs money. If you're a poor guy, you can't really get anywhere in the court system. So it's going to cost him some money, and I'm not sure what's being organised in relation to that yet. As soon as I know more, I'll let you guys know more. But yeah, the facts are pretty simple. Despite violent criminals being bailed all the time in Australia, the kind of people who haven't been in the country very long, they break into people's houses with machetes and chop people up. They tend to be on their fourth or fifth count of bail when that happens. despite all that, Joel's not getting bail because he allegedly made a politician feel uncomfortable by something that he said on the internet. I don't really know what else to say. I'll just keep you guys in the loop. But yeah, basically, this is me answering your questions. Joel is staying in jail for the foreseeable future. He's being held on remand, the presumption of guilt, basically, and we won't be streaming until he gets out again. But when he gets out, I'm sure he'll want to explain everything to you guys in his own words.
Okay, that one is for Jacqueline. I got another one.
They're not telling anyone about it. These laws come into force January 1st next year, 2026. If you are 1 to 10 kilometres over the speed limit, you get double demerit points. If you are 20 kilometres over the speed limit, your car may be taken from you on the spot. For at least 7 days, it's impounded. Then you have to go to the court, beg the judge for your car to be returned to you. They are bringing out a nationwide phone detection system with AI cameras to see if you're looking at your phone on your lap when it's on the dashboard, it follows eye movements. If you're reading text in your car while you're sitting in your car and reading it, whether you're at a stoplight or not, you still get a fine. If you're stopped at a red light and you're texting, you'll get a fine. The first offence is $500 and 4 demerit points. Second offence and thereafter is $1,000 and suspension of your licence. Under the new regulations, if you drive more than 4 hours, it is mandatory for you to take a 30-minute rest. Cars built after 2024 have a computer logbook built in the system. Now, if you're pulled over by the police and they suspect you're driving more than 4 hours, they are able to access that computer and feed off the data. So look it up. This is coming through. It's all about revenue raising, but they're not telling anyone about it. They want a lot of people to get a lot of fines so they can come, oh, look at our money coming up. Yay.
I got a couple short ones there for JJ. You guys see that picture photo? Okay, the first one's 3 minutes.
Our federal capital at Washington, D.C., in District of Columbia, and we even have an entire district that's set aside to do nothing but their staging area and their business. Because we have one capital where the unvarnished actual government of the American people is seated, and that's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we have a federal capital where our subcontractors who are working under delegated powers and who are exercising delegated powers have their capital to do their business, to conduct what their responsibilities are. So when I tell you that we're going to be restoring our national capital, our national seat of government,
I just did a couple
I'm not talking
ones
about
for
moving the federal capital from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia. I'm talking about cleaning, building up, dusting off, and bringing Philadelphia back to our view as the center of the national capital for the American government versus the United States government, which operates under our delegated powers. Okay? So this is an exciting time. There's a lot of good things going on. Things are getting straightened out. Roles are getting enforced. Contracts are getting enforced. The constitutions are getting
About a minute
enforced.
left.
A much greater understanding of the roles and responsibilities of the different parties has come to the fore. Another thing that we really need to understand is that our role as the American government, both at the state level and at the federation and ultimately the confederation levels, is to tell our employees what we want done. And that goes for the states.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
state assemblies
Daughter,
are supposed to be telling the state legislatures what we want done and how we want it done. And then it's up to the state legislature to go pick around through the beans and figure out how they're going to
3 short ones.
pay for and deploy employees to get the work done.
That's one.
And that they're just for profit corporations like any other corporations. They're, they're like, if you wanted to look at it, the USA Inc., British Crown commercial corporations are really no different than, say, Raytheon or McDonnell Douglas or IBM or Exxon. I mean, they're all of the same ilk. They're all commercial companies. And the municipal companies are really no different than any of the other kinds of municipal corporations that have been registered with the Pope's organizations under the Roman Curia all these years. Now, one of the interesting things that happened with us with the International Court of Justice is that the justices kind of woke up and went, they're acting in a sovereign capacity. They're actually operating as people again. We haven't seen this since before the Second World War. The same sort of thing went on with the court system, but they finally jangled awake and realized that, oh, yeah, right. We remember land jurisdiction. Yeah, lawful persons versus legal persons, And so we finally got them to recognize the fact that there are beings that have standing with respect to the actual physical assets and the actual physical countries and states. Okay. And we came forward into the court system with standing. And of course, our standing being material and substantive outweighs and is superior to the sort of airy-fairy paper-bound world of the corporations. It was a long, hard struggle between the dissolution of the League of Nations and the rise of the United Nations. We had 2 different jurisdictions and many changes in law forms and legal and lawful presumptions. And so complete and total different system between one and the other.
Okay, I got one more.
Veterans have preference.
3 minutes.
That's only fair. So I think we all realize that.
Starfire.
They gave years of their lives to defending this country, and even if they did things that they didn't know, they thought they were doing one thing and they were being used as mercenaries instead. That's not their fault. They acted in good faith. And so veterans have preference for the med beds, but they do exist. At last report, 8 million of them exist and are distributed, or are in the process of being distributed. The biggest problem related to their deployment is training people to operate them, which is obviously in in process right now is training the people to operate the med beds. But they are real, and they are being distributed to medical centers and some private clinics around the country. One of the interesting parts of the story that I don't know how much it's gotten out into the mainstream media or not, but there is a healing frequency that can be inducted, so that if you hear this healing frequency, or you're around someone who has sort of caught the vibe, that their body is in healing modality, that it can induce resonance of that frequency from person to person and cause a regenerative effect in people who come into contact with it. So for a lot of different things, like, a common cold or a bit of rheumatism or, migraine headache, things that are not so absolutely serious as, say, stage 4 cancer, the lesser illnesses, diseases, and problems can be treated simply by listening to this frequency long enough so that your body begins resonating to that frequency. So at a cellular level, a lot of things can be cleared up without a med bed. So it's only the more serious things that really require a med bed. Things like cancer, diabetes, broken limbs, missing limbs, paralysis, inoperable tumors of various kinds. These are things that actually require the full spectrum med bed technology. But most of the aches and pains and, having arthritis and things like that can be self-regenerative
Under a minute.
using the basic healing frequency that our cells recognize. And then our cells actually cause, like spontaneous remission. You've heard of spontaneous remission with cancer. All of a sudden somebody just gets well, boom, there you are. This is what has happened, is that people have been cured because one way or another they gained contact. Maybe it was through eating the right food, because food has, unless you're really sick, you probably don't even need a med bed. And the frequency healing will be available too.
So that was enough.
My name is Cecilia. I'm a mom of.
Got 3 short ones with her. I got a couple. I thought I had a couple there for Canada news. This lady's good. I don't know if you know her or not.
GPT to compare the Canadian MAID program organ donations to the illegal black market one, and then it froze. It didn't give me an answer, and I'm pretty sure I'm on the list now. And I asked it a bunch of other questions, including which is the #1 country in the world for organ donations. And so far, it's Spain. And what's interesting is Spain is also one of the countries that has the most relaxed MAID laws, meaning that even if you have a mental illness, that you can be put on MAID. For those of you who don't know what MAID is, it's medically assisted dying. And at first, they were marketing it as people who really had conditions that could not get better or were at their end of their life, and they were in immense pain, and that they wanted to go out on their own accord by, medically assisted dying programs. Now in Canada, it's becoming a lot more and more relaxed with, mental illnesses and so forth. However, it does say that you do need to volunteer to donate your organs when you're at MAID, and it has to be a separate decision. Now, what ChatGPT did say is there's no money being involved in the organs, but there is money flowing into these hospitals who are doing MAID. So this could be a secondary route and a loophole for the government to be making this kind of money, not directly with organ donations, but indirectly. But let me just show you a list of all the countries that have really relaxed MAID laws, and most of them are in Europe, and then also the countries with the top organ donations in the world. So the countries with the most relaxed euthanasia and assisted dying is Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Spain, Portugal, Austria, Switzerland, and Australia, and it says various states. Now, if we look at the top countries for organ donations, it's Spain, USA, Portugal, France, Belgium, Australia, and then Canada. Now, even in Canada, different types of provinces, such as Nova Scotia, has you automatically, as a donor, they automatically sign you up if something happens to you. So Nova Scotia is leading the way with organ donations. And I'm guessing other provinces might also put that into effect when you go get your driver's license and so forth. They're saying right now that with MAID, you actually have to go a separate route if you want to donate your organs to wherever. But we are seeing an increase in all of these MAID programs around the world. And in Spain and Portugal and those countries, you're actually allowed to get MAID if you have mental health issues. So if you're depressed or so forth. And we all already have seen that Canada is trying to do the same thing. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, is this organ donating and black market kind of things? Well, of course, the government's going to go around that with the loopholes and everything. But they also have a lab where they're making illegal drugs to illegally sell to Canadians. So I'm guessing that there's some loopholes in the donation aspect of things, of government paying certain hospitals to have these programs in place and then kind of using that loophole, but I will do a lot more investigation on that.
Yeah, she does a good job for Canada News. I sent you that one that was 2 hours. Did you watch the whole thing? Is it good? Okay, it's 10-minute one.
Those were the appetizer indictments in the Eastern District of Virginia. They're going to come back. Yeah. You're going to get appetizers shoved down your throat, James Comey and Big Tish James. But you're going to have the main course shoved down your throats with indictments in the Southern District of Florida for this lawfare and weaponization. I'm going to make damn sure that happens.
Oh, yes, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys know, I was pretty upset when the cases against James Comey and Letitia James were dismissed. I was frustrated at Pam Bondi because I felt it was her responsibility to play the right chess moves, but she made a significant blunder. The reason the judge dismissed the cases, apart from the obvious fact that it was a judge appointed by Bill Clinton when he was president, is simply because the prosecutor was not lawfully appointed. And if you read the law, you can't really argue too much. But this isn't a sad video, because I just saw something that has filled me with hopium. The FBI director, Kash Patel, conducted an interview today and straight up told James Comey and Letitia James that we're not done here. Come here, boy! That's not a slavery joke. But Letitia James is going to be calling Trump Massa. Massa, please don't, Massa, after he throws her in jail. So here President Trump gave a warning to Comey and Letitia James to not celebrate too early because it's not over.
Are you planning to replace Kash Patel as
No, he's doing a good job.
This week,
Kash Patel? No, he's doing a great job, I think.
This week we saw those cases against James Comey and Letitia James tossed out. Do you still have faith in Lindsay Halligan?
Oh, she's great. I think she's great. They got out on a technicality, and you'll see what happens from here on. But if you look at the actual charges, I think anybody that looks at it very fairly would say, boy, are they guilty. So let's see what happens over the next week. You know, the court didn't say you couldn't bring the case, re-bring the case, or appeal the case.
That's a very important point. If the judge dismissed the cases with prejudice, it would have meant they couldn't be refiled. That's simply because the indictments are pretty clear-cut. She lied on mortgage documents and committed mortgage fraud, and James Comey lied to Congress about his involvement or knowledge of something to do with the Russia hoax.
So they have a lot of options. They're going to call the shot. I'm not calling the shot. But Lindsay's a very talented lawyer, actually.
So he said his Department of Justice has a lot of options. And according to Kash Patel, they have options. This is what Kash said on his interview with the Epoch Times.
Because it's pending in terms of appellate status and what we are going to do for the next steps, the judicial process can make whatever determination it wants, but we, the FBI, and our partners at the DOJ have numerous options to proceed, and we're executing on all those options.
So he's not talking specifically about the appellate process as an option. He's saying outside of that, we have options that we're going to move forward with. The perjury charge on Comey is pretty much a slap on the wrist compared to the major crimes he was involved in. I mean, this guy was involved as the FBI director in spying on Trump as a president. And of course, we know his major involvement in the Russia hoax. And even to this day, they're still perpetuating it. It's a grand conspiracy, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing RICO charges. It would immediately be the biggest RICO in the history of the country.
So we're not done.
5 minutes.
Any detail available?
I would say stay tuned for right after Thanksgiving, and you'll see multiple responses, in my opinion.
Cash! This is what we want to hear, baby. TikTok. It's after Thanksgiving, Cash. We're waiting, baby. We have stayed tuned, glued to the screen, just waiting to hear what happens. These words better not be empty, like Jesus' stomach during that 40-day, 40-night fast, which, man, earlier this year, I fasted for 3 days and I thought I was going to die. Lord Jesus, how did you do it? Seriously, Cash, none of the performative nonsense. We want to see action. We want to see handcuffs. We want to see accountability, arrest, just about everything. You guys probably know that's Mike Davis right there on Benny Johnson's show. Great Patriot, and his organization is the Article 3 Project. He essentially staffed the Trump DOJ, so he's fully credible. He's the news before the news. So when he said this, that was even more hopium in my veins.
Video where he's bragging. You know, he's bragging that you were wrong and that he was right, and that this got thrown out. What's your message to James?
The right way to finance a Mustang is with Ford Credit. We have financing on.
I would say to James Comey, I've thought all along you're going to have Democrat judges colluding to protect the lawfare Democrats, to protect the deep states. Those were the appetizer indictments in the Eastern District of Virginia. Those appetizers got sent back because someone said that the appetizers weren't good enough, but they're going to come back. You're going to get appetizers shoved down your throat, James Comey and Big Tish James, and then you're going to have the main
Probably
course
like
shoved
that.
down your. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're going to have the main course shoved down your throats with indictments in the Southern District of Florida for this lawfare and weaponization. I'm going to make damn sure that happens.
Oh, yes, baby. This is what Benny should have said in that show. Mike, those words, that's my love language. You know, when women say words of affirmation and physical touch and quality time together. No, I want to hear about Democrats getting arrested. That's my love language. And Mike, you're speaking it. Let me kiss you right now, but not in a gay way, but in like a brotherly love way. Let me just kiss like the cheek, like the French do. Unless it's Emmanuel Macron, because he's probably actually gay. We love to hear it, ladies and gentlemen. Real accountability is coming. The slap on the wrist, perjury, mortgage fraud. Okay, cool. But when's that RICO coming? These people have committed more crimes than the Italian mob. They need to get the same level of charges. Man, that has me feeling all good, man. And mostly because Mike Davis said they're going to be doing this in the Southern District of Florida. That's been my biggest concern all along. You do all the work to write up a very powerful indictment, drag these crooks to court, and then the most crooked jury in history is assembled, and it goes absolutely nowhere when that jury declares that the individual indicted is not guilty. That's exactly how the Durham indictments of Michael Sussman and Ivan Danchenko went. The jury in the Michael Sussman case had a jury member who was family friends with his daughter. I've been on a jury. We were grilled on whether we knew anything about the case. And if we did, we were kicked out. Man, why was I so honest? Spent 3 days of my life going to court at 6 a.m. in the morning when I could have just said, man, I know the defendant. I know, Your Honor, I know this defendant. We went to school together. But Mr. George, he's 50 years old. You couldn't have gone to school with him. You're not the same age. Yeah, but I did, Your Honor. It was a great learning experience. And you'd even be lucky to get to a jury trial, especially with all the crooked judges around the D.C. area. In the Eastern District of Virginia, you're still in D.C. It's just where the federal employees live. If you look at the donation history of the voters in those regions, it's 100% Democrat nearly. That's positive number one. I think the second big positive for me is by introducing appetizers and then leading to that main course, you cause these people to spend a lot of money on lawyers. I'm sorry, I know it's a dirty strategy, but that's what they did on Trump, retaining Alina Habba, Todd Blanche, and all these high-powered attorneys. They're not cheap. That's thousands of dollars per hour. This is a taste of their own medicine. Letitia James had to spend money on lawyers, and so did Comey. That's money out of their pockets. Besides, it's money they stole from us anyways. Letitia James is sucking up the tax coffers of New York, and Comey, when he was FBI director, probably did the same. We didn't make the rules, we're just playing by them. By taking it to Florida, you also have better federal judges. They're less likely to dismiss the indictment. I don't know how that's going to work, how the DOJ plans to argue to establish nexus, because there are laws that say where you charge the person has to be where they committed the crime. But since Trump lived in Florida, I think that's the best argument. The crimes were committed by an organized national mob against a Florida resident. I think that's the best way to establish that argument. But we got to do everything in our power to make sure these indictments, these future main courses, do not end up anywhere near the DC Circuit Courts. Because whether it's Boasberg or some other Berg, they're going to dismiss it. Let me know if you guys are feeling that good energy in the atmosphere. Thank you all very much.
Yep, another good one from him. Nine minutes.
Have put forth that there are any single resource from taxpayers in Minnesota that has gone to aid and abet terrorism. That language is dangerous. That language puts the lives of Somalis not only in Minnesota, but across the country in danger. And if the president believed that and he had evidence, he would take people to court.
Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but to me, that sounded like a challenge from Ilhan Omar to the Trump administration to prove that the Somalians were taking money from the American taxpayer, defrauding the American taxpayer, and using that money to fund terrorism. Now, here's the problem. It's going to be very difficult to prove that that's the case if Tim Walz and his administration destroy all the evidence before that can be proven. And it's now being reported from whistleblowers inside the DHS in Minnesota, or should I say Somalia in Minnesota, that evidence is being destroyed, deleted, transactions are being covered up. It is all happening right now, and they're calling on the Trump administration to step in and stop it before it's too late. Now, all of this ties into the $6.5 billion in reported fraud that has been uncovered in Somalian Minnesota.
In Minnesota, a 78th defendant was charged just today. And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group.
Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab.
The money stolen was designated to help the autistic children in the state of Minnesota, where federal funding had to increase from $3 million to nearly $400 million in just 5 years, in large part because of this scam. Hundreds of millions of dollars. The number of autism providers in Minnesota went from 41 to 326, in large part because of this scam. Claims that 1 in 16 Somalian 4-year-olds had been diagnosed with autism, a rate that would have been more than triple the average. This was a seriously complex scam involving a lot of people. It's despicable. These are people that came here as refugees and then figure out how to scam the system even further. A lot of them lied to get into the country, lied about who they had married just to get in. They get here and they start stealing from us and sending it back home. The president responding, get the hell out.
So this is developing, and this has been going on for a long time. But now Tim Walz is being asked to produce the records, produce the documents, produce the evidence, and he's refusing to do so. And now we know why, because apparently evidence is being scrubbed and deleted. This is a post from Eric Daughtry. He's summarizing a post from a group of Minnesota Department of Human Services employees that are now begging President Trump to send in federal investigators to halt fraud in Tim Walz's government because they're destroying the evidence, the communications, the transactions, the records. They are destroying it actively, according to some whistleblowers. So stop the theft. Something dark is going on in Minnesota, and the Somalians aren't helping. This is a quote from the whistleblowers. Our administrators are actively deleting incriminating evidence, destroying data and documents, thereby preventing us from attaining justice and preventing future fraud. We need a complete takeover of DHS administration and removal of DHS leadership from our data systems that include Medicaid billing, SWIFT, fraud hotline, and others. We need forensic accountants to comb over the movement of funds, deletion of transactions, and recovery of incriminating communications. The group that's putting out this message represents more than 480 current staff at the Minnesota DHS, and Walz is also reportedly refusing to release the documents that would shed a light on this fraud as well. And it's no secret why Tim Walz is refusing to release the documents, and there's a potential active effort to destroy and delete the records, and that is because it all falls on Tim Walz's back. As the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz has executive oversight of the state's administration of Medicaid, known locally as Medical Assistance, or MA. The program is directly managed by the Minnesota Department of Human Services, which operates under the governor's authority as part of the executive branch. Walz appoints the DHS commissioner, who leads the agency and implements policies related to Medicaid, including eligibility, provider oversight, and fraud prevention. While Medicaid is a federal-state partnership with federal regulations guiding it, the state-level control falls under the governor's purview through DHS. And man, is Tim Walz falling apart right now, as it's now being reported that the totals of the amount of fraud in Minnesota could exceed $6.5 billion since
here.
Walz has assumed office. Only $2 billion has been uncovered so far, but the estimates are much, much higher than that. As we're beginning to scratch the surface, we have arrests being made, indictments being happening right now, and all of this falls on Tim Walz's shoulders, and the walls are closing in, folks, as the New York Times is actually doing some reporting. This is the article that they published just earlier today, How Fraud Swamped Minnesota's Social Services System on Tim Walz's Watch. And I guess you can just say right now that his political career is officially over if the New York Times is actually doing journalism. They see the writing on the wall, and they know they better condemn him as quickly as possible, because Trump has drawn attention to this matter. He's removed the temporary protective status of the Somalians in Minnesota. And now that it's being reported that evidence is being destroyed of these crimes, clearly they're trying to cover up something. And while they're trying to stall and delay and say, we're still gathering the evidence, we're still trying to produce that for you, just give us some more time, they are scrubbing it actively, apparently, according to these whistleblowers. So the Trump administration, the FBI, the DOJ, the Inspector General, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota, they all need to immediately step in and take over the DHS and all of this evidence before it's destroyed. Because now we're not just talking about defrauding taxpayers out of millions or billions of dollars. We are talking about funneling that money back to groups that are adjacent to Al-Qaeda, terrorist groups. This has been going on for a long time, and it was going on because it was allowed to go on. There's no way that this was a matter of negligence or just ignorance. There's absolutely no way something this massive at this scale could have happened without the knowledge of the people high up on the food chain. The chain of command leads all the way up to Tim Walz. This all happened under his watch, and he needs to be held accountable for his actions. And I just have a hunch here that somewhere along the line, we're going to find out that some of that $6.5 billion went into Tim Walz's pocket. I think there may, just may, be a little quid pro quo going on here. And that could be part of why the DHS and Tim Walz are trying to do everything they can to make sure that the records don't get produced and that the evidence doesn't come to light. And I think there's probably a very, very long string of politicians that have benefited in some way, shape, or form from allowing and turning a blind eye to the tens of thousands of Somalians that have been defrauding the taxpayers and putting a massive drain on the system with their frauds and scams that they've been doing for decades without any accountability or oversight until recently. But it sounds like the only way that we'll truly get to the bottom of this matter is if the Trump administration steps in and seizes the evidence before it's too late. So that is why I'm asking you all to share this video, share it to a friend, share it to your Facebook page, share it everywhere.
Another good one from Nick there. This one's mine.
Hearings on immigration in LA. Basically, the Democrats, they had like a behind closed doors meeting to discuss how they're going to use the ICE raids and deportations against the Republicans in the midterms. And they brought her on to talk about it. And she absolutely crashed out on live television. I have 3 clips that I want to share with you guys purely for your entertainment on this given Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look.
If that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you, I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists, but we don't want to talk about that in this country.
I mean, just can't even get the words out. That right there is the face of a very low IQ individual, ladies and gentlemen. And what the hell is she talking about? She knows damn well that she's talking straight out of her butt and has nothing to back up what she just said, because there is nothing to back up what she said. There's no statistic. There's no study. The FBI doesn't even track white supremacist crime. Like, white supremacists aren't even a demographic that is tracked by anybody, because their numbers are so negligible. Like, the actual violent crimes that can be labeled as hate crimes committed by white supremacists is like 20 a year or something like that. It's so negligible. But all the data and all the studies show that illegal immigrants commit a higher rate of violent crime, sexual assault, etc., than the general population, let alone white supremacists. It's absolutely ridiculous that she would even say that, but you got to remember who we're dealing with here.
But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants. And the idea that one person can get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting 2 of our National Guardsmen, 2 National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here.
Wait, you mean the National Guardsmen that volunteered to be there? They didn't want to be there? Is that what you're trying to say? Okay.
In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time.
Nope, she never said that. There's absolutely no record of her saying that whatsoever. She never said it was a waste of time. So that is another outright lie. And basically what she's trying to do here is she's trying to create the narrative that Trump is overreaching. He's overreacting to the incident that happened last week. He's taking one bad apple, one bad egg out of the bunch and using a broad brush to paint it all over, an entire demographic of people, and trying to downplay the incident that happened last week as a single isolated incident that really shouldn't be a cause of concern to Americans. We shouldn't be reacting this way and trying to deport and removing protective statuses from various countries and deporting these people, because that's an overreach. That's an overreaction. That's what she's trying to peddle on the fake news media, and doing a terrible, terrible job of it. And I don't know why they keep bringing this chick out to the media when she is clearly incapable and not mentally competent to peddle their narrative. They should be hiding her in a closet somewhere, not putting her out in front of the fake news media. Now, believe it or not, she actually gets even more unhinged in this next clip, where she compares Trump and MAGA to Nazis. Check it out.
Demonized people during the election, whether it was trans folk or whether it was the immigrant, he dehumanized. And if you study anything about the Nazis, that is where it all starts, is the dehumanization. And none of us should be sitting by, even if we're not trans, even if we're not an immigrant. You have to understand that the dehumanization will come in for Black folk. It will come in for women. It will come in for everyone. And that is why we unfortunately got here.
So a bunch of fear mongering to the Black folk and the women and everybody out there. If you stand idly by and let this happen, it's going to happen to you next. How about this? Here's a rebuttal. How about the fact that when you call Trump and MAGA Nazis, that's a form of dehumanization. And that type of rhetoric is responsible for the attacks on ICE, for the death of Charlie Kirk, for the assassination attempt on Trump, for the Summer of Love. Your rhetoric dehumanizing the right by calling us Nazis, bigots, transphobes, racists, that has resulted in absolute mayhem across the country. So again, we have another instance of the left accusing us of exactly what they're doing. Now, I've got a third clip for you guys where she actually doubles down and digs herself an even deeper hole, where she defends her accusing Lee Zeldin of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein, and turned out he took money from a doctor that happened to share the same name. You remember that massive blunder that she made earlier this month, and it got so bad that the doctor actually sent money to her campaign so that everybody could say that Jasmine Crockett also took money from Jeffrey Epstein. It was like an epic troll job. Well, she's still out here defending the fact that she said that, even though it has been objectively proven that she was wrong and made a completely fatal error. But no surprise, she's too stupid to admit that she's wrong, and instead doubles down and digs her hole even deeper.
Congresswoman, it wouldn't be a conversation with us if I didn't quickly put you on the spot on something. You made a little bit of news last week when you mistakenly accused Lee Zeldin, another Republican.
I didn't mistakenly.
Look how quickly she gets defensive. She knows exactly where this is going, and she's already on the defensive.
It's my job to make sure we spend our money on the right things, but I can't be everywhere at once. Like here, where my sales
Money from Jeffrey Epstein, but it was a different Jeffrey Epstein, according to the financial records.
It's like she's adjusting her earpiece because she's got to get her talking points from the DNC on how to respond to this.
I don't want to give you the opportunity to amend that. And
I have no amendments. When I was on the floor, for those that don't know how it works, basically they decided to bring this privilege motion up, and they decided that they wanted to kick Stacey off of her committees because Stacey had received Stacey Plaskett because she had received a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. I had maybe 20 minutes. We researched the FEC, and because I like to speak with specificity, that's kind of what comes with being an attorney. I made clear that there was a Jeffrey Epstein. They knew on the other side that I did not have time to actually pull up and actually research, especially since that particular one that Lee Zeldin got up in or uproar about was specifically out of the New York area. We know that he was out of that area. So, and this obviously was not done post Jeffrey Epstein's life. So I made sure that I said a Jeffrey Epstein.
But you were trying to insinuate that it was the
I absolutely was insinuating that it could be possible. That is true. But the point is, I never said that it was that specific one because I did not have the adequate time to do it. And so the Jeffrey Epstein has stepped forward, and that's not like, a normal name. And I think that what would have been problematic is if I would have claimed that, say, that happened and it legitimately never happened. So
It did never happen. You just admitted it. It never happened. He never took money from the Jeffrey Epstein. Notice how terrible of a defense this is. And this woman is supposed to be an attorney. She said that, as an attorney, I speak with specificity, but I was completely wrong because I didn't have enough time to do my homework and do my research. But I went on the House floor and completely tried to destroy the credibility of a Republican based off of shoddy information that I didn't have time to research. This is absolutely embarrassing, and she continues to double down no matter how stupid she looks. It's unbelievable.
So ultimately, he cleared the record. I have not researched further. I've not talked to this doctor.
But you can agree that Lee Zeldin didn't receive money.
I can agree that Lee Zeldin has said that he's not received money from the Jeffrey Epstein.
Still trying to insinuate that Lee Zeldin took money from the Jeffrey Epstein because she just can't admit that she's wrong. Unbelievable. This chick is just otherworldly. I mean, they really should just be hiding her away. They should not be bringing her out into public, speaking to the media. They need to keep her quiet in a closet. It is unbelievable how stupid she is. I mean, I don't have a very high IQ. I probably have like 105, like slightly above average, but barely. It's at least triple digits, I would imagine. She is barely brushing double digits. This woman is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. So I wanted to bring this.
Okay, that was two good ones from Nick today. Then we got 18-1 with our Australia lady.
Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday again already. You couldn't make it up if you tried. Well, it is, of course, we're waiting on news out of Iraq regarding what's going on today, leading into, of course, the 1st of December for those who are focused on all of that. Well, let's look at Wednesday, December the 3rd. I'm going to have a bank update from here in Australia on a Wednesday. So keep your eyes out for that little bit of news as well. As we move into this next week, December the 4th to the 5th, Putin will be visiting India. What's doing there? Geez, I'd love to be a fly on the wall, ladies and gentlemen. There's a trade forum going on. The power of partnership is in the unity of purpose, and export to Russia is the theme for that particular trade forum as well. And as I said, who's running what at the moment? It's still tied in with BRICS and what have you. So, yeah. Also on December the 4th, what is happening there? The Investor Advisory Committee of the SEC. This is all to do, of course, with the good old Clarity Act. So they're holding a virtual session on December the 4th. They're considering whether to tokenize equities should be reclassified under the US security rules. Well, these companies are, of course, seeking a better guidance on the process for their new digital financial market. Now, there is a new digital financial market, so I don't understand why companies haven't sort of cottoned on yet, but that's what they're talking. So I think this is the precursor on December the 4th as to this is just, again, the theatre. It's already happened in the background, and we're just watching this play out. This, of course, is to permit on-chain stock buying. What does that mean? There's a couple of things that you need to be notified and understand about this is, of course, the new quantum system is running on your stock exchange trading platforms in the clearing houses. So this one is going to be, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this one, because the on-stock buying also means that we are about to eliminate the stockbrokers and all of their fees as well. So when we go blockchain and quantum, this eliminates the third-party interference as well. Is this also connected to the $12,000 that Coinbase and Ripple, even though it only says Coinbase, but Coinbase and Ripple have coincided and co-enjoined? Are they releasing the $12,000 per person on crypto for the universal basic income? So keep a very close eye on that. Now, for those who don't fully understand, the universal basic income, of course, was part of that old New World Order. Yes, it was. But it's now going to be classified as a universal income. This is also to help people to be educated on that crypto trading platform. So as you learn to become, I don't know, a bit more business and know what you hold. So there's a couple of different elements to that, but I think with this going into the 4th of December, the reclassification of the process for the new digital financial market and the on-chain stock buying and the 12,000 from Coinbase on the 4th of December, I think that is a day that you need to put down on that list to watch for certain. So on December the 5th, though, of course, we have Korea's FSA, which is, of course, their Financial Status Association as well, to conduct an on-site inspection on Upbit Exchange. What are they going to find there? This is like the SEC over in the United States in Korea. But Korea's not split when it comes to exchanges. That's a very interesting side note to keep on put aside for that. As I have always stated, I don't believe that it is North and South Korea any longer. I believe that they are Korea. So keep an eye out on that too. We'll see what comes out of that inspection. But I don't expect too much to happen out of that. Let's go to, I'm just making sure I've got this all in synchronicity orders. December the 8th. Now, this is again tied up with the Clarity Act. The Senate Target Crypto Market Structure Bill is being reviewed as a bipartisan gain momentum. What's happening there on the December the 8th is where the policymakers are going to discuss more definitive policies regarding acquisitions. This is the purchase, of course, of commodities to support your currency, the custody, exchanges, and the consumer rights. The Senate is scheduled and it has allowed 2 operating periods between now, of course, and the Christmas break. So we need to find out when the Christmas break is on, but they have allowed 2 sessions. So December the 8th, December the 9th, possibly. Let's have a look around about December the 10th for all of this. This is suggesting, of course, the new progress regarding advancement of crypto market regulations. Again, the Coinbase Ripple comes into play here, and they are restructuring the Regulatory Clarity Act. It's not just Ripple, but it's also connected to Coinbase as well. So they expect to finalise that Clarity Act by the Christmas break. So we can expect to see before Christmas the Clarity Act taking to place. So the next one I'm going to lead you to now, of course, is December the 11th. Oh, my bad. Sorry. What else is happening on December the 8th? I'm jumping pages because I've got it all over the place today. There's a Bitcoin mania, so to speak, in Abu Dhabi. Now, this is at on the 8th and the 9th, and this is to shape the future of finance together. Some very interesting speakers at this particular Bitcoin mania as well. So understand, of course, we all had seen Eric Trump come out and talk about, of course, Bitcoin mining. And it's going to be mined in the US. Ooh, there's been a few people message me about this one going, Mel, what's going on? Think of it in a different perspective. If you're going to take something that was corrupt, now just remembering back, I'm going to inform you of a few things that I did some research on quite some time ago. In fact, just before COVID or just during the beginning of COVID, the scamdemic. So Bitcoin mining, we all expected it to go to zero. Well, what if it already has gone to zero? Here's some interesting fun facts. So the reason Eric Trump talked about they're going to be mining Bitcoin in America is because they took away the mainframe computers underneath the dam in China, and they're taking control of it. So it is now controlled. So it's a controlled breakdown of the old system. This will, of course, maintain the integrity of those who are still Bitcoin people, but keeping it in a controlled environment where things can occur that aren't going into the black market, so to speak. So that's another perspective. You may not like Bitcoin and this, that, and all the rest of it, but here's some fun facts that I found. During COVID, whilst we're all focused on that, this was the beginning, of course, of the restructure of your quantum system. And during that time, I discovered that XRP was the original concept. Now, I said concept. I didn't say it was the original coin. Bitcoin was the original coin, but the concept stemmed from XRP. And hence why there's so much backlash from the Bitcoin people about, oh, it's part of the New World Order because it was stuck in the World Economic Forum. Well, here's a little insight for those people. Understand the reason it stayed inside the World Economic Forum is because they didn't want it released, because you can't break it. So that's why they created the concept of Bitcoin, and they used it for nefarious activity. So keep that in mind as we work through all of that, and understand that we don't all know what we think we know, But during the COVID pandemic, it did go to zero. In fact, Tether went first. When you understand the background of Tether, was the ship, so to speak, of Bitcoin, and later on, of course, Ethereum and things like that as well. But Tether went to the USDT during COVID. Bitcoin, it went down a very special LLC. That LLC, or limited liability company, is like what I say in the crypto world or digital assets world. This is the siding on a railway track that alters and changes, does repairs and things like that as well. So think of this very special LLC as a siding down the railway track, and Bitcoin went down that siding as well. So Tether went down, it became the USDT and came back up. The Bitcoin also went down the siding, down the LLC, and it happened to bridge, of course, with Bonfire Stellar, I think it is, from memory, and it then was converted back over onto the mainframe, onto the main railway track, still to remain as Bitcoin. So the LLC was very, very interesting, and it was actually called the Orange Man. You couldn't make it up if you tried, ladies and gentlemen. So understand that the plan is not always going to be what you want it to be or you assumed it to be, but things were going on way back then. In fact, way back in 2012 and prior to that, they had already had the plan on to do what they wanted to do with Bitcoin. So please understand that's why this emotional tie with what's Eric Trump doing about the Bitcoin mining and this, that, and all the rest of it is that they now have control of that mining, and they will make sure that it's not done with nefarious activities. 60% of the original Bitcoin, of course, as I said, was corrupt. It was used in governments to make government payments and things like that as well. Let's remember back too that DJT also reminded us that he will probably pay the debt off with Bitcoin. Do you see my point, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so he's probably got that beautiful shed of all of those Bitcoin mining material to actually pay off your debt in Bitcoin. Okay, so there's many, many layers. There's many, many opportunities for you to all sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and ask yourself the question, why is that happening? It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Okay, so some interesting fun facts regarding, of course, Eric Trump, the Bitcoin mining in the US, and how that is all transpiring. So it is actually for the good of the people, not for the bad. So if you're still wondering if it's going to go to zero, ladies and gentlemen, it already has. Okay, and they did that through, of course, as I said, an LLC on Bonfire Stellar, and that's when they altered that as well. Also on the 8th of December, a huge, huge day, of course, the Commodities Future Trading Commission. It's launching a CEO Innovation Council. Now, a lot of people skip this one, but what was interesting is that they're advising on innovation, crypto tokenization, blockchain, prediction of markets, and 24/7 trading. Again, like I said, from the 4th of December onwards, they're talking about, of course, 24/7 trading. What's going on there, and that I'm excited about, is that they're calling for public nominations. That, ladies and gentlemen, is giving you, the people, back the power. So if you are in that world and you would like to nominate yourself to be the CEO for the new Innovation Council, please do so, because we need you. That's in the Commodities Future Trading Commission. So thought that was of interest to some people. So December the 11th, as I said, let's get to there. Abu Dhabi. Now, they've been promoting and putting out quite a lot. They are very well financed. Don't get that misforgotten, because in Longitude, which is a production over there, is going to be hosted by Cointelegraph, which does, of course, a lot of the news that we see in the crypto and digital asset world. Well, this is where all the panels come together, and they're going to be talking about privacy, security, real-world assets, and institutional adoption, followed by a gourmet dinner and a smooth live jazz music. Wow, wouldn't I love to be there? I love a bit of jazz. So that's very, very interesting as well. Are they going to be notably celebrating the onset? We will wait and see. But what a way to celebrate with a bit of smooth jazz and a gourmet dinner in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, sorry. So what's going on in the news? Well, not a lot of news as such coming out of Iraq just yet. We expect to see that coming out in the next few hours, probably just after the show. But the news out of Iraq, of course, the RT Bank opens in Basra. The branch is to expand in southern Iraq. What was interesting about that bank is, of course, it's a new commercial regional bank, and it's expanding their aviation projects and that as well. So that's all connecting Iraq with Europe and the rest of the world. So I understand they are still making massive amounts of progress in Iraq. So we still wait to hear some other news, and we'll see what happens and transpires from there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night from me. We look forward to Wacky Wednesday, where you get to...
Okay, that's another good one from our Australia lady. I got a 2-minute from George on TikTok, and I got a short one with Doug.
Let the power of Christ compels you.
It's hard for me to believe I've been here almost a year. When we get into December, it's like, yeah.
She fled the United States because of Trump. That's how far gone she is. She's in Ireland right now.
And then January 15th, we left. And I'm happy that I did.
Keep telling yourself that.
Now, to try to adjust my need to warn people. It's like there's enough people warning people. You don't need me to warn people.
Never did.
I've warned them for 20 years. So maybe I'm done warning people. I think maybe that would be healthier. So I'm going to try.
Oh my gosh. I kind of feel bad for her.
To not post about him.
Wait, what? She can't even say Trump's name. He's Voldemort. You say his name and he'll appear. Trump can never be homeless. He lives in Rosie's head rent-free. But this is the good part. Here's Rosie O'Donnell on Jim Acosta's show saying she's concerned for her daughter because her daughter shares the same level of unhealthy hate for Trump.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you. I'll tell you the truth. My daughter is now saying, damn him, damn Trump, and smashing her hand on the table. And I said, wow, honey, what are you thinking? And she said, he made us move in order for our own safety. And it's now he's destroying the country. You know, listen, wow. She lives here. She here.
Balls in the air now click. Selfie. Balls in the air now click. Selfie. Balls in the air now click.
6 minutes.
Welcome to Doug. Oh, look at that little dog. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm walking through the Denver airport when the news just struck, so we're doing another episode. This one features Trump just posted the nuclear option, according to Mario Nawfal. I gotta keep unlimited power to slam the border shut on any class of aliens. Is it constitutional? He's going to make the argument. Okay, he's allowed to deport and close the border to any class of alien that he wants, that he deems a threat, is the quote. He didn't add commentary, he didn't need to. The message is crystal clear. After 2 Afghan allies were murdered the National Guard. You know, Trump was never real thrilled with immigration, period. He always wanted to lower the numbers. And we kind of have some back pay. If you open up the borders and brought in 11 million people, Trump says it's as many as 20 million people, but really we don't know how many people came in. Then you seem justified to be able to close the border if you'd normally let in, say, 500,000 a year. Then that means you don't have to open the border back up for 20 years to equal the number of illegals that Biden could have let in under his. It's being called a legal bazooka. If the legal bazooka, no 60-day notice, no congressional vote, no ACLU permission slip. Okay, so here's a little bit of flack that he got from a Rowan B. Sinclair, says Mario, cheering for unlimited power is the most un-American SHIT I've ever seen. Giving one man the right to ban any class of people isn't safety, it's a purge. You think the boot won't end up on your neck eventually, but it always does. That's false because Trump is not one man, he represents the people, and the people overwhelmingly support it. So that's just the kind of scaremonger I wanted to tell you guys that the Democrats are coming up with.
I'll go to 7 o'clock.
The president alone decides who gets in, who stays out, which you know is under his branch of government. Congress is more about the United States, about the people. The Supreme Court's about our law. Well, who's the international one? It's the branch of the president. Okay, this is according to the constitutional advocate, Clarity Anchor, 212F grants conditional authority, not plenary power. So plenary power means the president absolutely has it. So if it's conditional, then that's going to be their pushback, right? The claim of unlimited power misstates the statute. So now he's claiming that's in Trump's tweet that he exaggerated, which Trump, come on guys. The claim of unlimited power misstates the statute. Section 212F authorizes the president to suspend entry of certain non-citizens, but that authority is constrained by other federal statutes, by constitutional guarantees, and by judicial review. The Supreme Court has treated 212F as broad within its domain, yet not a license to disregard Congress's immigration framework. So Mike Johnson's going to have to do a little magic on this one. Well, good thing Mike Johnson is a great guy, and anyone that tells you different is a fraud. Here's Trump, and I could quote the Constitution, but he basically quotes it in his tweet. Wherever the president finds the entry of any aliens, of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or class of aliens. Ooh, underwear. Okay, so here's some of the legal questions that someone has with Grok. INA section 212F has faced legal challenges before, like Trump's 2017 travel ban, which lower courts blocked, but the Supreme Court upheld in Trump versus Hawaii. This is back in 2018. Future uses could be challenged on grounds like discrimination or conflicts with asylum laws, but the president's authority under it is broad and often upheld. Those people have to go until they legally come back in because they're basically breaking law. Look, if my friend drives drunk, it doesn't matter that he's my friend. That's all an illegal alien is. is, hey, wait a minute, socks. That's a handsome biplane right there. He can cut off the borders. He's going to, with just his presidential authority, and he's going to keep the Democrats guessing and on their toes. And this is my favorite comment. It says, come to find out, we didn't need new laws. We needed a new president. I don't know if he's going to pull it off. Now my question to you guys is, will the Democrats launch their massive network of Democrat judges to shut it down, declare it unconstitutional?
We're here to help. Bin, wheels first. Please keep your smaller items and jackets with you until we've found a place for your bag. We're here to
I'm Doug in Exile.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen those, I think. Can we play this one?
This island was owned by multimillionaire Francis Sheldon, pictured right here.
You guys
and
remember this
Francis
one?
and a number of other local men from Michigan, including this guy, Gerald S. Richards, ran a boys' camp on the island.
Played it.
They would fly kids to the island on this airstrip, kids from the YMCA and other schools and communities in the area. And both the children and the parents of the children who attended this boys' camp were told that this was an island of fun where kids could relax. They had big brothers there. It was going to be totally safe. And this camp ran on this island for a period of years. Then one day, some of the kids who attended the camp began to tell their parents that the counselors or the teachers, the adults that were there on the island, had behaved with them in very, very inappropriate ways. They began telling their friends and parents that they were taken into these cabins pictured here on the island. They were assaulted. They were told to remove all of their clothing and that there were cameras all over the place. Well, it turns out that this guy, the multimillionaire with political and business connections in the area, Francis Sheldon, was running a massive CP ring. And they had been abusing the children on this island under the guise of bringing them to a boys' camp for years, recording all of it, selling it across the world. And some of the more affluent clients of their business were even allowed to take trips to the island themselves to see some of these young boys.
Not have seen this.
Now, this story bears an obvious resemblance to the story of Jeffrey Epstein, but there are some very, very strange things that are happening here that nobody knows about, and the government still refuses to talk about to this day. So let's talk about this guy, Gerald S. Richards. He was a gym teacher at a local Catholic school who went down for the crimes, and he was heavily involved with every aspect of this business, if you know what I mean. Well, it seems like through his political and business connections, Francis Sheldon was actually tipped off that he was about to be arrested and raided and charged with these horrific crimes. So Francis, before he could be brought to justice for these crimes, he actually fled the country in a personal plane. He then moved to France, got remarried, and died in Amsterdam, and never had to pay for any of the crimes that were committed here. But it's when we start talking about the murders that this story really starts to blow my mind. So take a good look at this guy, Chris Bush. This is Christopher Bush's father, Harold Lee Bush. Now, he was an executive with General Motors, and the family was obviously extremely wealthy. They were politically connected, and they were very connected to every business in the area. These guys had a lot of power. But back to Christopher Bush. This guy had assaulted a number of children. He'd been let out of prison, let out of jail in a very, very suspicious way, multiple times, put on bail for serious offenses. And he was an alleged associate of the crime ring that was happening on North Fox Island. Meaning that, like I said earlier, he was one of those people who could afford to actually fly out to the island to do things himself. I'm out of time. Follow for part 3. This is where it gets juicy.
To hear this right now. 2 major things have happened here in the state of Michigan just this past week. Number 1, the Michigan State Board of Education has voted to revamp the health curriculum standards for our children in K through 12, focusing mainly on our 4th and 5th graders. They are making it a requirement for our children to learn gender identity, gender ideology, and pushing a very far left narrative, pulling parents out of the discussion. Number 2, even after an executive order to make sure that boys are not playing in our girls' sports, the Michigan High School Athletic Association is allowing a biological boy to play on a volleyball team in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This school, Skyline High School, has advanced to the regional championship, and parents are sounding the alarm. They are concerned about the safety of their daughters on the teams that this volleyball team is playing. So what are we going to do, guys? The first thing we have to do, the most important thing, is we have to make sure that this news is getting out. So share this video with everyone, comment on this video, and make sure that you are letting parents in Michigan know what is going on. The next thing, know that the Michigan House of Representatives and me as your state representative, Jamie Thompson, are not going to stand for this.
Okay, that was an important video. Okay, this one, then we got a McDonald's video.
He'd accidentally turned on closed captioning in real life.
Look what he's doing in terms of the $230 million that apparently is from his DOJ, all the pardoning, all the this great grift, the biggest, most corrupt administration in history, not just the $400 million plane, but the $1 billion of your tax money as we're cutting food stamps to pay for the damn plane so he can take that toy home with his foundation when he's 93 or whatever he's done with his 4th or 5th term. I'm deeply concerned about it.
He would make a great flight attendant with those hands. Imagine this. Welcome aboard California Air, where your captain is Gavin Newsom. In the event of a sudden loss of common sense, oxygen masks will drop from the ceiling, and it's worth noting there's a 13% tax to breathe. If the cabin lights flicker, that's just another rolling blackout. And if the plane catches fire, well, you might want to just jump. The hydrants are dry, but your seat cushion doubles as a tent when we land. And welcome to California.
Okay, that was a short one.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. That's a lie.
Take your freaking fish fillet and GTFO, lady. Good God Almighty. Today, we are diving into the absolute chaos that is McDonald's TikTok. I'm talking about customers fighting over nuggies, employees losing their patience in real time, and drive-through orders turning into full-blown reality TV auditions. It's a whole circus, and the clown isn't Ronald, it's everyone else. So grab your shrink-flated Big Mac and your cold French fries, and let's check out some of the wildest McDrama that the internet is serving up today.
Give me the refund. I can't do a refund. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. I can't do a refund. I can't give you a refund. My card! You're stealing it. No, I'm not. Give me my card back. Oh my God. I'm calling the police. Oh, I am. I'm calling them right now. My name's Alex. You are I'm not, ma'am. I am so sorry about this. I am so sorry. They charged me $37. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. That's a lie. Please back up. Here, my name is Bridget Hamill. I'm trying to get a refund. I'm calling the police.
Wow. Wow.
Hello? What you saying hello for? I was on the phone, boo. Now give me one moment because I'm on the phone now.
I'm on the phone, boo. So the caption says McDonald's workers on the phone while I'm trying to order. So apparently the McDonald's worker is saying, hold your horses, I'm taking a call. And just completely ignoring this woman in the drive-thru.
Hello? One moment. Hello? Hello? One moment. I'm not finna keep waiting my moment because then now you finna take the other customer. Hello? If you take that call over there, I promise you I'm blowing this up. Who the fuck is that? Hello?
There's someone at the other there's someone at the other drive-thru speaker that is able to order. Like there's a second drive-thru person. Why didn't the second drive-thru person take their order? That seems so backwards to me. Is it one drive-thru order taker for both? Or are there two, one for each? And if this woman is on the phone and not taking this order, where is the guy that's on the other one who had no customers? I have so many questions.
Oh. Yes, what can I get for you, ma'am? Hello? Hello? B. You are all right. What can I get for you? Why is you playing with me? Didn't I tell you to take my order? Y'all are crazy. Yeah, what can I get for you?
She says, y'all are crazy. You're the one who's talking on the phone instead of doing your job. That's crazy.
This McDonald's give me a canned Coke? What situation are you guys in?
I'm sorry, you can't record.
Okay.
Stop recording me.
She says, you can't record me. So they're holding three phones. Three phones. You can't record me. Well, how about three phones? I love trolls.
I just want my food.
Okay, well, I asked you to stop recording. You wouldn't stop recording, so now I'm giving you a refund, so please have a great night.
Well, I just want my food.
Too bad. I asked you to stop recording me, and here you are still doing it for me.
I'm confused. I just want my food. Hey, thanks for the free Coke. Thank you.
Yep, have a great night.
Now let's do this!
Here's to a summer you'll never forget!
Wow.
That's what you can have Somebody can be here over now. That's what you can have.
So this story actually happened about a week ago or so at the time I'm filming this. Yeah, they're trying to find this woman. I don't know if they have officially yet, but
Okay, I got something better to watch. You guys, you want me to stop that one? That was really good. I thought it was okay, but some parts was okay. But we're going to check out this one here.
I am. You'll have to teach me about this Twitter game. I don't understand it at all.
I don't think you should learn it.
This is
You're gonna
live.
be
You guys want to
obsessed
listen
like
to
me.
this?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter so often.
Well, you know, it's definitely a fantastic way to engage and stay engaged with people. And I've had a Twitter since, I don't know, like college, but you know, it's been a while. So, but interestingly enough, someone like yourself who's engaged didn't quite even understand the impact of a Charlie Kirk, right? And he's somebody that will never be able to be replaced, right? But you know, it concerns me a little bit, you know, when I hear, you know, people say, well, Trump is MAGA, right? And I understand what they mean when they say that. I truly do. But we have to pray that the movement is bigger than one man, right? Because we look at TPUSA, a huge movement, but now we're looking at it and we're like, oh my gosh, where does it go without its founder, without the head of it, right? And it would be a tragedy if MAGA ended up that way. But when you hear MAGA, we probably think the same thing. But when you hear America First, how do the two differ for you? Or do you feel like they're interchangeable, mean the exact same thing to you? Or do you feel like they're the same groups?
Well, I think that America First is the natural progression of the MAGA movement, right? What I mean by that is when Trump came onto the scenes in 2015, around July or June,
right
around that time,
You guys want to listen to this one?
He was speaking a language that no one else could understand except the people in the country who felt it, the silent majority at that point. That's what we were called. But it was people from all over the country who knew exactly what he meant. When he said people are coming into this country in the millions and they're not the best people, everyone knew what he meant except, of course, the left and the media. And it was politically incorrect to say it.
Okay.
So people treated Trump like he was radioactive, even in the Republican Party.
This is live.
He was like, oh my gosh, like he's saying these things about minorities. When he told black people that, what the hell do you have to lose? As in, you've been voting one way for all your entire lives, at least, in the last, 100 years or so. So what do you have to lose by voting for me? That was shocking because it's like you're not supposed to that's not pandering. You're aggressive with your tone, but it's like everyone felt that this movement, this Make America Great Again movement, was really a shock to the system.
Mm-hmm.
So then Trump came into power, and here's what happened, right? Because there was the campaign, and then there was the presidency. Trump is not someone that spent a lot of time in DC. He was a true outsider, a billionaire, not with, tax coffers sucking our money dry, but a billionaire by building great businesses, by building great buildings. So he was truly an outsider. And then he goes in, and the very swamp, the Republican Party that he promised to topple if he didn't get the nomination, that very institution said, look, we're going to try to get you into the White House. We're going to give you all these resources, because he funded his primary and much of his presidential campaign. But to get him over the line, he had to, kind of go around and say, all right, Republicans, I know I said I'd destroy your party and destroy both the establishments, but I need you to win this thing fully, right? And even then, he didn't have full Republican support, but he had the institutional backing, at least, to get him all the way through. And then he went into the presidency, and that same Republican Party was responsible for staffing his administration. They gave him Mike Pence as a vice president. And Trump's presidency went from something we anticipated to be his first term, anticipated to be this transformational term, to being about tax cuts and, like that's kind of what it was. Like, oh, he had a great economy, which he did. But it was nothing more than that. Like, it wasn't like we had the greatest mass deportation effort in history. The Republicans in Congress failed to give him the sufficient border funds. And because of that, he couldn't finish the wall in his first 2 years. He couldn't fund much of it. And then in his last 2 years, Democrats took the House and impeached him. And it's like that whole presidency, that first term presidency was, and then all his appointments to various seats were not the best people. I mean, we had Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr and General Michael Flynn, a true Trump loyalist, was kicked out of the administration by the neocon elements. And so we had this essentially this hijacking of the Trump movement in that first term. And so the last 4 years, or the 4 years subsequent to the first 4 years of Trump, was him in exile, essentially. He was banned off of all the social media platforms, and he was kind of like by himself. And then I think when it became apparent that the Biden regime really sucked and the country started realizing, oh, Trump wasn't as bad as the media said, it completely shifted. Elon Musk bought X. These things just transformed. And suddenly, Trump went from someone who was in political exile in Florida under immense indictments, and then he had a triumphant return in 2024. But his campaign in 2024 looked vastly different from his initial campaign. In 2024, he had the backing of little tech, guys like Peter Thiel, a lot of billionaires, because they saw a business opportunity. Trump is someone who is pro-business, which is a great thing. And they saw that if they backed him, he would kind of give them the data centers they want everywhere. He'd give them the AI moratorium that they need, that they want to prevent regulation. They kind of saw that Trump is the only guy to do this. And certain lobbies saw that Trump would achieve things for them. So the famous Israel lobby decided, okay, we're going to back him. Because initially Miriam Edelson was backing Marco Rubio in 2015, and then she was backing Nikki Haley. And then Nikki Haley dropped out, and it was all in on giving Trump as much money as possible. So these different people kind of came in, and you have people like Lindsey Graham who said, you know what, let me endorse Trump. I think it was out of political convenience. But essentially, not to say that Trump didn't achieve any of his strategic objectives. The border is more closed now than ever. He's pushing forward on immigration. He's doing these things. But I think the next natural progression of MAGA is not a failed movement, but it's a movement that is going to evolve. And it's not really going to go away, because the term is Make America Great Again. That will always live on. But now people are now fixated on the next thing, which is America First. And that's why we're having this conversation, that evolution and what it means for the future of this country.
Right. Well, one of the biggest things, and of course, you being technically Gen Z, or you just barely make the millennial. You're Gen Z, right?
You think I'm almost a millennial? No, I'm a super Gen Z, man. I'm 23 years old. Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in it, man.
So I have two sons that are in the Gen Z generation, right? And so, I technically just slipped into that Gen X, right? So, and the interesting part to me is that I feel like it feels like there's a war brewing within the conservative movement, that if we're not careful, it will fracture it, right? And I believe that the powers that are trying to fracture the movement are coming from the outside, right? They've seen the Democrat Party fracture, right, between the extremists on the far left, and then you've got the people that are somewhat towards the middle, which I would never have thought I'd be saying this, like the Fettermans, right? So we're seeing those people that are somewhat in the middle. We can't forget that they're still, I hate to put it this way, they're still not to be trusted, okay? But they are useful at times as far as needing allies. But when I look at the MAGA movement, right, I see that as being the OGs, like the original, Trump supporters, Make America Great Again, but when I think Make America Great Again, I think about things like, being able to have a mother who was able to stay at home and help raise us when we were kids, right? Having a single income household be able to be sufficient to raise a family as a child, right? I think about, being able to buy a house, my first house on, basically a year and a half to 2 years of my salary, right? I think about those things. I think about, having an identity as Americans.
I'm gonna go.
I think back to,
mark.
and we could get into talking about all the circumstance surrounding 9/11.
Not a good
but that was the last thing that ever took place that I can remember in the country, that rather than politically dividing us, that you saw people come together and say, you know, USA, we're Americans over everything else. And everything since then has almost been, I mean, we saw a situation, you know, last week, you know, during Thanksgiving, where it was a terrible tragedy of 2, you know, National Guards members being killed. But rather than people being able to coalesce around that and said, yes, this is terrible, something has to be done, it immediately turned political, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when I hear MAGA and with the generation of mine and the generation before mine, their immediate thought is, yes, let's go back to those good old patriotic days when we were able to afford things, that the dollar went further, that families, that there was a strong family tie, right? And that families were elevated, you know, as opposed to being looked at as a thing to, you know, just deal with. Yeah. And so we think about the MAGA, Make America Great Again. We can remember those good old days, right? When I think about America First in this younger group, right, they don't necessarily remember those things. I mean, in most people in your generation, they've always known mom and dad having to work in order to make ends meet, right? They've known a devaluated dollar from the beginning, right? So they're like, we just want America to give us the promise that it promised to our parents and to our grandparents, right? Yeah. And so, and they're looking at it from the good thing is that if you looked at the top 5 things for our issues for the young voter and the older voter, the boomer voter, you know, and the Gen Z voter, economics were at the very top, right? Along with border security being at the very top. Yeah. But then after that, you know, it became very, very, my friends, my older friends will call it isolationist, right? And I don't know that it was isolationist, but I think as I talk to my boys and as I talk to, you know, the Gen Z voter, it's like if it doesn't directly benefit
Thanks, Paul. Have a good
America,
week with See you.
then I don't want to send money there.
Tomorrow night.
And I can understand where they're coming from, right? So you mentioned like, and I'm not going to, I'm not taking one side or the other, but I think if we don't have these conversations, I think we will miss the mark and we'll miss a great opportunity to unite as opposed to, you know, scattering.
Like always.
But, you know, there's been a whole lot of arguments back and forth about, you know, the Israel movement and things like that, right? And I understand the importance of having allies, but I know this isn't necessarily your belief system, but for those around you, could you explain to me for the Gen Z voter, right? Which you're not the typical Gen Z voter, but for the Gen Z voter, what is their frustration per se with Israel and the Israel lobby?
It's interesting because remember, before or after our conversation last week, I actually spoke to a friend of mine. We were on the phone for like 2 hours, and he's 20 years old, and he's doing some electrical work for me. And it was a very long conversation about this topic. And ideologically, he's, I'd say, Christian Zionist. But it was interesting hearing him talk about how he thinks it's absolutely unfair that we spend money on, you know, I think we've given to the amount of what, $200 billion since the 70s, or since the late 60s to Israel in whether it's foreign aid or direct aid or, you know, military assistance. So, you know, we're talking a lot of money. And his whole point was we're spending money on a country that has free healthcare and we're struggling over here. And that's always been the contention of foreign aid and taking care of other people's.
Okay. That was a good interview. I'm just getting tired. Yep, a lot of good stuff again tonight. So, yep, everybody make sure you sub to the orange channel with the letter M on it. That will be the backup channel. And Michelle and Kay were working on getting things back in order on that. We got to get everybody over there to the backup one. So, hope everyone had a good holiday weekend. And everybody have a good work week. And we'll see what happens this week. Another week in the countdown to 30 days till the end of the year. Executive order January 1st, I heard. So thanks, Kay and Michelle, and bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like, subscribe to the backup, and stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Signing off. Chico dude. Till tomorrow evening. See you guys tomorrow. Unless something happens.